An ABC News Brief brought to you by Hefty Bags. Now from Washington, Tom Jarriel.
Good evening. Jewish Soviet dissident Yusef Begin has yet to appear in public, but a leading Soviet official today announced Begin had been released from prison. His detention provoked violent demonstrations in Moscow last week. In Lebanon, Shia Amal militiamen allowed Palestinian refugees out of two camps today to purchase food and supplies. For many, it was their first real meal in weeks. The House Armed Services Committee has issued a highly critical report on the Reykjavik summit meeting last October, calling it the textbook case on how the superpowers should not negotiate. Now this.
The Cinchels were in some mess. Till they got a cinch sack.
Hefty, hefty cinch sack.
It's a cinch to close.
Said Sarah.
A cinch to lift.
Said Sid.
Cinch to carry.
Said Sis.
Hefty, hefty cinch sack.
That's News Brief. We'll have more details later on the ABC News Weekend Report.
An ABC News Brief. Now from Washington, Tom Jarriel.
Good evening. The standoff continues in Beijing as protesters maintain their pro-democracy demonstrations in defiance of martial law, and Chinese officials warn the army must restore order. But one deadline for breaking up the demonstration in Tiananmen Square has already passed without incident. There were demonstrations around the world in support of the Beijing protesters, the biggest in Hong Kong, where more than 400,000 people marched. President Bush urged Chinese officials to make democratic reforms and urged demonstrators not to resort to violence. More on the Weekend Report.
For you.
An ABC News Brief. Now from New York, John McKenzie.
Good afternoon. In Houston, President Bush has welcomed the leaders of the world's richest nations to the 16th Economic Summit. The governor of Louisiana says he wants to read the fine print before deciding whether to sign his legislature's newest abortion bill, the toughest in the country. And a new survey says over the course of a year, the average executive spends what amounts to 2 weeks on hold, waiting on the telephone. That's News Brief. I'm John McKenzie. More later on World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
An ABC News Brief. Now from New York, Morton Dean.
Good afternoon. The economy is coming to life. Goods and services up 3.9% in the third quarter, sales of existing homes up 9% in October, and new unemployment claims down 12,000 in mid-November. The Commerce Secretary says the figures are a gift to the Clinton administration. Doctors for Paul Tsonga say a tumor found in his stomach was cancerous but treatable. That's News Brief.